Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is the last day of July, Benny, July 31st, 2024. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's going on out there, everybody? This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. August means fantasy football drafts will be in full swing. I'm talking about not just these free, everyday, okey-doke drafts, but I'm talking about drafts of major organized leagues, of which I am a member of at least 4. So dates are going to have to be set for these drafts. Only one of them is live now. The rest are all done online, post-COVID, I'm sorry. But other than that, we got training camps in full swing. We got some major signings, some contract extensions, some major injuries to a couple people, unfortunately, so on and so forth. And Hall of Fame game coming up, correct?
Tomorrow, oh yeah, we have football. I don't know if we're going to know who's on the field when it starts, but we'll talk about that a little.
You know how I feel about preseason games, so
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And again, don't agree completely on that. You know, I kind of like it. I think it's like the tryouts for American Idol or something like that. You never know.
oh God.
Rise up. Who's going to be a star? Who's going to be a surprise? And there's certain things that you know are going to happen. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But that's tomorrow, the Hall of Fame game featuring the Chicago Bears, who'll be home, and the Texans, Houston Texans. This will be played at Hall of Fame field. So the Bears will be home for that. So Benny, just to get started here, it says 6 days ago, is when we published our last video. And, you know, we had a lot of fun on that video, especially when we were talking about, you know, whether the players should honor the last year of their contract. We talked a little bit about the spending that was going on, you know, with the top 10 teams, spending on offense, spending on defense, all that good stuff was in last week's show. So again, just reminding people, when you're checking us out, to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be made aware whenever we're putting out our information here on football, because we cover all aspects of football. Let's roll up. At that, right after that, we had 42 days and we're counting down 41 days. But you said we had some big signings. Here's one big signing. Tua Tagovailoa. Did I say that right? Tagovailoa signs a massive $212 million deal with the Miami Dolphins. That's over $50 million per year. How do you feel about that signing?
I mean, that's their guy. They've shown a commitment to him. I got to give him credit for that. All he has to do is stay healthy, and they should be just fine. It's not like they're a terrible team. They have very explosive offense. He's the leader of it. He's proven that he can put points on the board. The Dolphins' problem is defense. That's something that they're going to have to really focus on in the future, and the near future and the upcoming future, if they expect for him to be able to get them some postseason wins. But I look at them as a playoff team, and I look at him as the leader of a playoff team and an explosive offense. So I would say that's probably money well spent.
You know, it's interesting. I would call the Dolphins Niners East, you know, and size-wise, I think Tua and Purdy are about the same, wouldn't you say?
Well, Tua lost some weight. Last year, he put on weight, supposedly to be able to withstand the hits. This year, he lost some weight to be able to move better. So, again, just like we said last year when he put on the weight, it remains to be seen.
Remains to be seen. And you said the problem is the defense. I'm not going to argue with you on that, but I would say the other problem seems to be when the Dolphins have to play in cold weather when it counts.
Oh, well, again, winning regular season games, which he doesn't seem to be able to have too much of a problem doing, but the problem is when they win, it's usually because they're in a scoring match. They either blow somebody out or they're in a scoring match When your defense isn't very good, you end up losing some of those games. Then when you get to the end of the season and we start putting our seeds together and who's going to have home field advantage, that's where they get hurt. They need home field throughout.
I'm
They
gonna ask
need
this last question before we move to the next slide, or the next thing on the page. When these guys sign these quarterback contracts, are they paying for what they've done for them in the past, or are they paying for what they expect in the future? What do you think?
A lot of it's for the future, but it's based on what they've seen in the past and the potential they see going forward.
Okay, all right. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so Benny, the next up here is another big paycheck. I don't know what's going on here with these big pay. Actually, I do know what's going on. We both know what's going on here with these big paychecks. But it's very interesting. It's becoming, and I saw this somewhere, a point of for study. They're beginning to say, this is becoming a point where we need to study this phenomenon of these humongous paydays for players who haven't yet accomplished a whole lot. They have promise, and so they're getting paid on promise, it seems here. $55 million per year.
Great, everybody.
For one Jordan Love. I think what Jordan has in terms of active duty, maybe a season and a half, or is it half a season?
He played an entire season last season.
So it's about a season. Okay. So the Packers are an interesting situation because of the way that they're publicly traded. They're the only publicly, traded NFL team. And it's not so much where you're just about the stock, but about the organization and how their organization is set up when you have a publicly traded entity. So it's a little bit different, the different layers of bureaucracy, things like that. And the thinking might be a little more long-term, Benny. What do you think?
I think what they did is what every team wishes they could do. I mean, they got a pretty good scenario here with a guy that was drafted in the first round at a critical position, which is the toughest division in football, the quarterback position. Got to play behind a great quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Got to study, be in that quarterback room for a number of years, and gave the coaching staff a good chance to really evaluate him. I mean, really evaluate him. It's the next best thing to him having to start in a year or two. Okay, so when you talk about guys being paid because they haven't done anything, or being paid before they get an opportunity to actually do anything, or succeed or fail per se, or show what type of quarterback they're going to be over time, that's almost impossible to do. First of all, you got to get paid according to the market, and then a lot of it is potential, and that's in any professional sport. My thing is, because he was in a situation where he was able to be evaluated by that coaching staff over a number of years, and I forget how many it was, it might have been 3 or 4, they really knew what they had before they declared him the starter and put him out there.
I'm saying, yeah, for sure. And again, their setup makes them a little bit different in the way that they think. I think that might have been a bit too corporate for Aaron Rodgers.
But that's okay. They're not worried about Aaron Rodgers. They're worried about the organization.
Yeah,
the organization did the right thing.
I used to think that when he used to go, when he used to say all the stuff he would say about, was it Gutenheinz, the GM for the Packers.
Yeah,
those two really butted heads, or it seemed that way. But the GM was in such a part of the layer that no matter what the GM said, it went through a number of other, layers of corporate governance, so you could be mad at him, but you couldn't really exclude those above and those below him if you were really looking at the organization. They all
As a player, I can understand why he was upset. He's pretty much in his prime, whether as fans we believed it or not, or whether that's how he felt about himself. He's in his prime. Why in the heck would you spend a first-round draft pick on another quarterback when I got years to go and I'm at the top of the game? I've already got MVPs under my belt. When you could use that first-round draft pick to bring me more weapons, I'm at the top of my game. What are you doing? I get it. But in the long run, it turned out to be the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Benny. Absolutely. Next up on the Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page, our man Ryan Tannehill, not on a roster. I think that's kind of just, there's something about that. Maybe it's the changing of the guards from the old to the new, that Ryan Tannehill is not on a roster. I mean, not even backing up anybody right off the bat. I would think that. And it looks like he's going to chill and just wait for a phone call. You think he's going to get that call?
There's a real good chance that he will. I mean, let's face it. We know how the NFL goes. Injuries happen. And that's all it's going to take is for somebody to stub their toe and the right team think he's the right fit, and they'll give him that call. Evidenced by Joe Flacco last year, coming in with the Browns after Deshaun Watson went down. That turned out to be pretty successful. Flacco had a lot more juice left than a lot of people thought. I don't know if Tannehill can match that, but let's face it, he's a competent veteran who just didn't fit with his team anymore. His team decided to go with the youth movement and a semi-rebuild. So they said, we're going to go with Will Levis. We can't keep you around and pay you top dollar to be a backup. So we got to let you go. So, I mean, it's tough. But again, most veteran players don't like training camp any doggone way. He can stay in shape on his own. He'll get a call.
That's a good point that you make. And a lot of times veterans have a number of ways of getting out of camp.
Right.
Really didn't need anyway, like you said, for the most part. And those guys are professional enough to stay in pretty good shape, pretty close to game shape anyway. Game shape is special. So that is a good point that you make there. And then we just not hear about one quarterback, Mr. Herbert, with a little bit of a case of plantar fasciitis going on already.
Yeesh.
Talk about a lingering type of issue,
I tell you, with all these turf fields throughout the league, foot problems are something that can really, really hurt you.
Yeah.
That turf is very unforgiving when you run.
It gets aggravated every step.
Right.
And it's amazing that how it aggravates other things, and as someone who's kind of just getting over a case of it, you don't have to be an athlete, as a matter of fact, there's apparently a whole industry of inserts and stuff for all these people who have it. And I've pretty much been over it. It hasn't really hurt me, but every once in a while I make a move and it's like, oh, it's still there.
Yeah.
And so think about it. Coach Harbaugh for the Chargers with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. That almost sounds like something that he could work with.
Well, I mean, he's pretty much made it clear, and I believe him, that they're going to be basically a running team anyway. So, I mean, they're already going to lean on the run game. So, but let's face it, and it's funny, we talk about leaning on the run game or leaning on the pass game. I was watching a program, I forget which one it was, but they were saying, don't be fooled when you hear about a team wanting to lean on the running game. And you know what it was? It was a fantasy program. It was a fantasy football program on television. And the guy said, what team, what percentage of run to pass did the highest percentage of run have? He didn't even name the team. He said 52%. They ran the ball 52% of the time. That was the highest in the league. So there's going to be plenty of passing going on. The other 48%, you know what I'm saying? Or 50%, whatever it is. That's plenty of passing. And
that sounded high to me. I actually thought it was going to be lower than that, like closer to 40 to 30%.
well, I don't know what team it was, but whatever it was, 52% is pretty high. It was the highest last year.
Might have
So
been my squad.
might have been. Might have been. Niners ran the ball quite a bit. I got a feeling it was the Browns, though. That would be my guess. If somebody said real quick guess, I would guess the Browns with Nick Chubb and you know what I mean.
Okay.
But that's a pretty high percentage, but there's still leaves plenty of room for passing. And the last I heard, I don't think anybody ever said anything bad about Ryan Tannehill's arm. So
Right. Adrian Martinez of the UFL Birmingham Stallions gets a chance to sign with the Jets and sit in that quarterback room with Aaron Rodgers, much less. Funny, you were just talking about how you could understand Aaron not being happy about them signing a first round draft pick. I don't think he would be as threatened by a guy coming up from the UFL. But this guy's pretty good, man. What do you think?
this guy's been in a couple camps already. It's not like he hasn't had a taste of NFL training camp. So he knows what he has to do. He knows what kind of shape he has to be in. He knows he has to be Johnny on the spot, learning a system. He's been through it a couple of times already. It's just a matter of can he do enough? And is the Jets situation the right one for him? I don't know who the Jets backup quarterback is right now, but Aaron Rodgers is definitely past his prime, if you ask me. He's coming off a major injury. This could be, who knows? I mean, if he sticks, that'd be great. He's already a two-time champion during the spring. So,
Well, I can tell you that the Jets do not have a depth chart yet, but they do have a roster chart. And let's take a quick look here at the roster chart. For quarterback, we have Andrew Peasley. I have no idea who that is.
He won't even make the team.
Huh?
He won't even make the team.
Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor.
There's your backup right there. You don't even have to go any further.
There's your backup right there. And now they'll be adding on the young man from the UFL. So he'll have an opportunity.
I'd say he has a good chance to stick.
To make the squad. Yeah. I think that he probably does also. Adrian Martinez. Remember that name. We'll keep an eye on it. Now, Benny, I'm just going to share this because I'm stupid like that. But I have to take every chance I get to go, holy Puka Nacua back, man. Puka Nacua. Just he's like a happening now. It's like he's a thing where people are really, it's a situation. I'm trying to think of the word that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? But it's like he's not just a regular receiver anymore. He's becoming a celebrity receiver, maybe.
I don't know about celebrity, but his numbers tell you there's nothing ordinary about this guy.
Extraordinary. A little extraordinary, eh? Yeah. Puka's and he's in my division, so for me to give him any type of countenance, you know what I'm saying? But Benny, speaking of UFL players who have made the jump to the NFL, we have Kelvin Harmon, wide receiver, making the jump from the DC Defenders to the Dallas Cowboys. And they said those Cowboys weren't making any moves.
People aren't going to be real impressed with that as far as making moves. Not saying the guys didn't deserve to be called up. He's obviously done enough that they felt like he could help them. But there seems to be an open chair in the wide receiver room with the Dallas Cowboys while CeeDee Lamb is still trying to work out a contract. So there'll be some place for the guy to sit, that's for sure.
Okay.
And I just found out today, since we were talking about the UFL, because when you showed me this guy, I thought you were going to show me somebody else. Because there's a guy that I was super impressed with, a guy that I believe was the leading receiver in the UFL last season. And that guy happens to be the St. Louis Battlehawks, Hakeem Butler.
Yeah, I remember
And
him.
you may remember after the championship game, the coach of Birmingham came up to him, remember that? And said,
I'm gonna make sure I tell everybody.
The NFL, and I'm going to tell everybody about you. And he did that. So he is now, who picked him up? The Cincinnati Bengals have brought Hakeem Butler into their camp, and he's doing really well. Making big plays, catching big passes, burning cornerbacks.
Jeez, he's got pros throwing to him. He got two
this guy's got a
wideouts
good
that
chance.
are like perennial all-stars on the outside.
Hey, I'm just saying, like,
that's a loaded roster right there.
Here's the thing. Again, there is an open chair in that room because Jamar Chase is holding out or holding in. I forget which one he's doing, but he's not in there. So, you know, but I think if anybody sticks, I think Butler will stick. I'm really rooting for him. He's big time player. He's NFL quality receiver, in my estimation.
Okay. Well, in your estimation, and you found out some information about this Pro National Women's Championship, and the champions being the St. Louis Slam. And we wanted to give the Women's Football Alliance a little bit of love. They defeated the Boston Renegades 30-27. They put up 30 points there, Benny. What did you find out about the Slam?
Yeah, well, at first I wasn't super impressed with this. Obviously, we tried to give props to champions of all, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, of all types of football, from touch football to flag football to Little League and even women's leagues. And I happen to know that there are several women's professional tackle leagues throughout the country. However, I did some checking around, and this particular league, the WFA, is pretty much considered the top league of its type. It's the top women's tackle league in the country. So let's give them some special thanks here, or some special congratulations. This is top flight league, and they are the champions.
You got to play in Canton, according to this.
Okay.
So, congratulations. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.